how's everyone doing? It's nearly deadline day, the day that everyone loves. It's a bit stressful, isn't it? It's this transfer malarkey, and would you believe it as well? For someone who really doesn't like transfers, I always ask Barry on for the transfer shows. It's difficult, isn't it? But yes, hello to everyone in the chat. Hello to everyone who's about to join as well, or if you're watching this on repeat. It's great to have you with us. We're going to talk, of course, all about the news of today. We might be going live tomorrow as well at this rate, if more comes through in the next 24 hours and do a deadline day show again. But we shall see. But we thought we've got to go live today because obviously there's big news that has broke as well from all kinds of people. It started with Tom Gary, then me and Flo added fuel to the fire. We're dropping the information that we knew, and now Emma Sanders and Catherine and all kinds of people are reporting it as well. So lots to pick up on. We're obviously going to start with that that's on the thumbnail, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the loans as well. One confirmed, one about to be confirmed in the next kind of 24 hours or so as well. But firstly, Jess, let's just welcome you back to the channel. It's been a long time. I can't actually remember the last time you were on. It must have been last season at some point, towards the end of the season.
It was. I came on a couple of times towards the end of the season, and obviously the iconic Chloe Kelly transfer show that I think I came on for a couple of other shows, but that one just stands out in my mind because of how chaotic it was and how essentially pointless it was in the end. But what a great time we all had together.
That's still one of my favourite shows.
It was so funny. I'm so glad that I was on it. It was so pointless, but so great.
It's just because nothing happened, yet we made a 2.5 hour show.
I don't know what we spoke about for so long, because literally as we were coming on, it was like, this isn't happening anymore. And we were like, what are we going to talk about?
Even Sean can't believe it that you're back.
I know, scenes I have re-emerged.
But yes, there's so many of your comments already. I'll try and bring as many as I can on screen. Obviously, if you've got any questions and things like that, we'll answer what we can. I'll obviously give any information that I possibly can as well as we go through. But yeah, kind of lots to get into as we go through this. Just before we get onto the United news, we were literally just talking about this before we went live. What? Like, I know it. I don't know. I know she's got all the money in the world, but that would be insane if they pulled that one off. But who knows? I have got a fan on, partly one because it's hot outside. So if you can see my hand, I apologize that you've pointed that out. I'm not going to be able to do it now. But there's a fan there because my laptop is quite hot today. It's been working hard because I've been trying to get all kinds of stories and all kinds of pieces things together. So my laptop's running overtime, which is why the fan is directly pointed on it. So that's why you'll see that one. Anyway, right, let's get on to the deal itself. We're going to split the deal into two. In terms of talking about them separately. So we'll start on Grace Clinton departing. So we'll talk about that as a as a section. Then we'll move on to the Jess Park section. And as I said, we'll talk a little bit about the loans. But Mary, Jess, I've done it already. Grace Clinton departing, looking like it's, well, my understanding is it is going to be Manchester City, and that should be completed tomorrow. I've been asking you on the last couple of shows what we would be doing with that one. We don't want the saga to drag on. Well, it's looking like it's not going to. And it's going to be done by tomorrow. Just your initial thoughts, really, on the fact that it is City.
Well, we kind of had this chat, didn't we, on Monday with regards to what we felt about the whole Grace Clinton thing. And, you know, I think it's important to preface everything that we're saying with the fact that we all know that she is a very good footballer, somebody who's got so much potential. And it's exactly the same conversation as we had about Alessia Russo, with the exception of the fact that this time we've got one going for a little bit of cash prior to the season starting. It's the right thing to do if she doesn't want to be at the club. We don't know that. We have no idea what the reasoning is. It's not come out as yet. But I think ever since we shipped her off to Spurs, I think she almost took that personally because, you know, it's just my opinion. I think that when she came across, she was expecting to be some sort of big star, was immediately sent over to Spurs. She became that big star. Big star, perhaps in a big spa. But, you know, she'd got the role that she wanted. She was the superstar of the team. She helped them along to an FA Cup final that she wasn't allowed to take part in. All of those things. And I think for me, her then coming back to Manchester United where she has to share the limelight with people that are already established. And that's the issue she's got, is that the players are established. I've seen people saying, oh, well, he's never going to drop Ella Toon because that's his favourite. And, you know, Mark Skinner's got a lot of faults. I'm sure we're going to pick on a few of them as we roll through the season. But anybody, just please don't take this the wrong way, but anybody who does not think that managers have their favourites, that's how they pick their 11. They have their people that they choose. That's the whole point of it. There's a reason why they're their favourites. It'll be something to do with training, something to do with the fact they're brilliant. There's 1,000,001 different reasons. So that would be the preface. I don't really have much to add from what I said on Monday, other than the fact that I said we can't let Grace Clinton go if we do not replace her, because you've got to have the depth. You could argue by bringing in a Jess Park, we're probably doing something a little bit better, because Jess Park can go out on the wing and has played out on the wing, and that is an area that I said that we needed to strengthen. Whereas Grace Clinton obviously is mainly central or mainly midfield, where she's not going to get starting opportunities too often. So for me personally, I think it's probably the right decision for all parties involved.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to be pretty unanimous on that thought as we go through it. But again, just for yourself, I do see your comments, by the way, and some of your questions. I'm going to start starring them as we go through. But Jess, just your initial thoughts on Clinton departing, firstly, before we look into some of the specifics, and then also an incoming as well.
I mean, solely focusing on her departing, I think that it's good that we're supposedly getting some money for this. Just going off what the rumours are, I don't know what has actually been confirmed, but I think this avoids... I think we were running the risk of heading towards another kind of Mary Earp situation where she clearly didn't want to be here, and that then impacted how, as like fans and viewers, we perceived her character and all of that, how the team seemed to operate. I think Clinton as a player has, her ceiling is so high. You know, I remember one of the first shows I did on here was probably just after Clinton had signed, and we were speaking about seeing her in pre-season before she went on her very first loan, and it was so clear from that how good she could be. And it's a shame that she isn't happier at United, but I think it's fairly, like Barry said, with her history of going out on loan, especially to Spurs the season before last now. I think it's pretty clear that she would probably benefit and prefer in herself and move away. So I think doing it now, getting some money, avoiding the and almost Russo to the same extent situation where it becomes toxic almost, and the way the fan base, like as United fans, because we're getting something out of that, we're potentially getting a fee and a player back. We're not seeing that as, oh, she's leaving to go to the enemy almost, because we're actually being well kind of I can't think of the word, but we're being paid. We're getting something for that. We're being well compensated. That's the word I'm looking for, compensated. So it's not like in those other situations where we've had quality players who have just left us on a free and we felt really hard done by in our pocket. So all around, I think this is the best situation. I would have liked it to maybe be a little bit different. I would have liked her to happily play for United forever, but if she's not happy, then all the best to her.
I think that's the key thing. I'll pick up on that in just a second. I will just, sorry, Becky, I'm going to shout you out, who, for people who don't know, runs the City Extra account. And Becky messaged me yesterday, and we were talking about this, just like tomorrow and the next few days are going to be chaos. And we woke up to chaos between both of our clubs, and running these pages, it's a lot of work, trust me. And there's a lot that goes onto it. So both of us have been fairly stressed today. So I'm glad we both got through it. We've still got tomorrow to get through. But yeah, shout out to you, because I know running those pages is not easy. And everything else. No, it's been a busy 24 hours, all those kind of things. But yeah, I think from my point of view, I think I've been saying on here for a number of months now that I don't see Grace extending. I never really have. You know, ever since the option got triggered, I kind of thought, okay, we're kind of going down a road of protecting ourselves here so we can get a fee for her or something in the summer, or maybe in January. I thought this was going to maybe go on till January. So I think from that point of view, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised it's taken this long, to be honest. I'm surprised we've got to the day before the deadline, and now all of a sudden this is moving. I'm surprised this didn't happen earlier in the summer, to be honest. I know that there's a Euros and everything else. So I don't think she was going to sign an extension. I think I said this on one of my TikTok lives or something. United are in a tough position then, because what do? She's an exceptional player. And I said this on Decoding the WSL podcast a few weeks ago. I wanted her to stay. I'm with what Jess and Barry said. I wanted her to stay. I wanted her to be here and stay. Now, obviously, I don't put this is a personal view, not my, I guess, insider thing into any. I don't think she would have done. In terms of, I don't think she would have signed throughout the season. So if she was going to leave, I'd rather it have been like this, and as Jess said, got compensated a little bit for it, whether that's a fee or a player or whatever it is. From that point of view, so I'm not too disarmed. I think if we'd have let this go on a year, we'd have had this all season. I'd have been asking every other show, what are we doing with Grace? Is she leaving? Is she going? There'd have been stuff coming out all over the place. We'd have got to January, we'd have had the same conversation again. And I'm just glad that this is looking likely that it's going to be over by tomorrow, and then we can start moving on. And look, because we've got quite a few players out of contract next summer that also need looking at as well. So I think it's good to maybe shift the priorities a little bit. And I think it's best for all parties, to be totally honest. I know that it's City. I know that there's all thoughts around that and everything else, but I don't think there was another option. Not this summer, anyway. If it had gone to next summer, then yeah, she's got a pick of clubs that she wants to go to because there's no transfer fee or anything like that required. But for this summer, City was the only realistic option, and yeah, I'm not too fussed about it. Some people are asking in the chat what the fee was. It's undisclosed, so it's not going to be. That's never going to be public. I don't think on that one. When will Bizet be joined? Bizet's not going anywhere. You don't have to worry about that one. Sorry, I'm just reading through some of these comments. Yes. So for people, I guess, who are new or haven't seen the reports or anything else, me and Flo at the cutback broke this, I don't know when it was now, 3:00 time, that the deal was agreed between the two clubs. I also think that, yeah, in my opinion, this is going to get done by tomorrow, and I think you'll see that announced then as well. Okay, Barry, from I'm going to try and flip this in a different way, because I guess some of the questions, if we want to put maybe a less positive view on it, is that we've seen this happen before with, I guess, star players leaving, whether that's end of their contract or midway through. We've seen it with players past. We've just mentioned Russo and for example, Honor did the same. We keep not always, because we've kept players like Fallon, for example, signed extension Jade Riviere earlier in the year as well. Do you think it's a worry, or are you worried that maybe this keeps happening, that we see star players go elsewhere, and particularly go elsewhere within the WSL?
Can I just take a moment to clarify the question? Are you saying that Grace Clinton is a star player?
Yes, I think she is. I think she is that good. But I mean, I guess in terms of the name, I guess, in terms of the quality and the potential that she can get to.
I would suggest that a lot of the star players that we've had, the vast majority of them stay until the end of their contract and then go. Seems to be the general gist of it. I don't know that I would put Grace Clinton into star player territory, purely because she didn't feature. I think that the vast majority of issues that we tend to have, especially when it comes to players potentially being a little bit angry, is because they're not playing football. They're not the first choice. And we sort of touched on this a bit on Monday. At the end of the day, if you're not going to play football, these players want to play football. So therefore, if they don't have the opportunity to play, they're going to get upset. So I think the vast majority of people that we have got rid of have been players that haven't been playing. And that is why it comes across as being, oh, it's terrible. When you talk about genuine star players, and with that I'm talking about people like Mary Earps, we replaced her. And in my opinion, we replaced her with someone that actually came in and did better. So that was a delight. We didn't know that at the time. And it was frustrating. But she was anchoring for a move. At that point, it didn't happen. And we kept her for an entire season whilst keeping that better goalkeeper on the bench. And who knows whether or not we'd have had a better season had we put Fallon in goal rather than leaving Mary on the pitch. Or perhaps with everything being like it was and the defence being as leaky as it was, she'd have had a terrible start and her confidence would have been shot. So you just never know. And this is the thing, we're dealing with unknowns. And that, for me, is the big problem. When you start talking about people like Alessia Russo, we always spoke about her potential. We knew what her potential was, but for some reason she didn't want to go. All I'll say on that is there's a reason why Man United fans aren't very happy with Alessia Russo. She's the one transfer that's disappeared that is almost universally agreed on that nobody seems to care about. So that says just about everything. Katie Zellum not being offered a contract, that was a little bit strange. But again, these are players that get to the end of their on a Bache, obviously wanted to go home, wanted to go back to Spain. So there's always reasons. So no is the short answer to your question, Connor. I'm not even remotely worried about it. I did see a message from Paul earlier on up there that said Skinner needs to get used to integrating his players sooner. I'd still argue there's not enough games for us to constantly keep chopping and changing when you get people that are at a good level. But I do also agree that he does need to, and we've spoken about substitutions before, give these people more opportunities. And I think that is going to be a question that comes in when we start talking about Jess Park. Because I've seen somebody say Grace wasn't in our first 11. She wasn't. I'm not convinced, and I know we're going to get to her, I'm not convinced I'd put Jess Park in my starting 11 either. So if I'm not going to stick her in my starting 11, he's going to have to get used to bringing her off the bench, using her a bit more of a game changer, using her when we get to the Sandwich Cup, potentially in the FA Cup, whatever it is that he's doing, he's going to have to think about how he rotates them and uses them. But I think, no, I'm not worried. I know there's a narrative that people want to push that everything's terrible at United. It ain't. Like, if it was, you'd have a mass exodus. And it's not a mass exodus. The same people are staying there. Does Ella Toon strike you as the sort of person who's just a quiet person who just goes, everything's crap around here, but I'll just stay for the shizzles and jizzles? No, she doesn't. She does not strike me as that sort of person. Millie Turner, can't imagine it. You know, they've got such a good atmosphere around the place that is mainly fostered by the girls. No, I'm not even remotely fussed.
I think as well, like we've seen the reports in the last few days when there's, I'm going to call them non-stories that come out that try and paint United in a negative light that are just not in that sense. But I think this summer, from a leaving point of view, we've lost, well, it'll be 3 by the time Grace leaves tomorrow. One of those obviously is Alessia Ahern, who we never really saw in the first team anyway. Aoife Mannion was in and out of the side anyway, who I thought was actually a good player and certainly absolutely loved amongst the squad to have around. So that I think is a loss, more off the pitch than on it. And then Grace, you could argue as well. Now, Grace was certainly at the start of last season. She was definitely in, and well, she won multiple player of the matches for us in those first few games of the season. She was brilliant at the start of last season. And again, then you fall out the side and everything else. I think it's a difficult one on that one. And Jess, I'm going to ask you the same question, but I just want to answer this quickly first in terms of what are our wages like. They are lower than the other 4, particularly Chelsea and Arsenal. We're a lot lower than those two sides when you're looking at the big names and the big players. So we're still a way off that. And now I know everyone's argument then to that is we'll just pay the same. You could do that, but then if you start paying 1 or 2 players that, then the rest of the players are going to be like, hang on a minute, I want an extra amount as well. And then you start breaking the structure. It's got to go up, I agree, but it's got to go up in a way that is sustainable for the rest of the squad. You can't just go to one player, right, here's X amount of money, because then if you're Jade Riviere, Fallon, Millie Turner, these kind of people that have just signed contracts, you're like, hang on a minute, I've just signed on the lower bracket, if you want to call it that, and then I know that X player, because all these players talk about this stuff, is on double that, then, it's got to go up in a way that is sustainable for the rest of the squad. You can't just throw all the money at one player, because then everyone else is going to be rightly upset about that.
Did you see that something's come out? I'm sure I saw it on Twitter about that, and that WSL and WSL2 are going to have that sort of pay structure. So it'll be a living wage for every club that's in the WSL and the WSL2. So I don't know if that was, obviously the top 4 will be paying, I would imagine, a lot more than say Spurs are or Leicester, but there will be almost like a minimum wage, Gareth. Yes, absolutely. Something that means they can focus fully on football and not have to worry about anything else, which is quite cool.
It's definitely the right step in the right direction, that's for sure. But yeah, so I just wanted to quickly answer that one. But Jess, in terms of yourself, are you worried at all that we keep seeing this? And I say maybe for different reasons, but we do see, I guess, the argument is there was a comment a bit further up about other teams managed to keep some of their, I guess, fringe players. I don't like calling Clinton a fringe player because I think she is capable of being a starter, but those kinds of players that are good enough to start that maybe aren't starting, other teams, I could say, get to sometimes keep them, and we don't seem to. Is that a slight worry for you?
Not massively. I mean, like you've just said, we're not actually really losing anyone this season. Potentially, this transfer window, the biggest one is going to be Grace Clinton. And I think historically, when you look at the players that have left who, go back to these star players, I wouldn't necessarily class Grace Clinton as like a current star player. However, like I said before, her ceiling, I think, is so high. I think she was a very good find by whoever scouted her from. I think it was Everton she came from. And I do think it's a shame that we haven't been able to integrate her, maybe not necessarily integrate, but I don't know if it's even a sense of we haven't been able to keep her happy because people move for all different reasons. If we look back at some of the other players that we have fumbled, you've got Lauren James, who was always going to go back to Chelsea. Realistically, she was ex-Chelsea Academy. Her brother plays for Chelsea. She was always going to go back to Chelsea as soon as that call came, and she did. So no real beef there. Honor, Barcelona came knocking. You're not going to turn down Barcelona. Barcelona, best team in the world, or were at the time. She's won 2 Champions Leagues with them, probably 3 leagues. Takes her back to her home country. What are you going to do to keep someone like that? You'd have to pay her God knows what. And then it goes back to the conversation Connor just mentioned about the wage structure. And we've seen the men's team got into that trouble when they signed Sanchez that one time. That is what sent the wage structure on the men's side so off kilter, because you had a player on 300 grand a week sat on the bench. And obviously it's a lesser extent in the women's team, but you're still going to have the same arguments for them. The only person I'd say we really lost that annoyed us all was Russo. And even that rumour was at the time that she left because, the Arsenal setup was a lot better. At the end of the day, Arsenal are a longer established team than United. They have been around a lot longer. So you can't, if those were her reasons for going, then fair play, whatever. I'm trying to think who else you could possibly throw in. Mary Earps. Again, she didn't want to be at the club really anymore. We brought in someone who, like Barry said, I would say at this point is better. Realistically, since Mary Earps has left, she's not actually had the best time. Whereas we've kind of thrived under Fallon. I think, so that's like 4 people in 3-4 seasons maybe. And you've also got to bear in mind that during all of this, we're bringing players in. So it's not like these players have not been replaced. We replaced Honor, which we didn't think was ever going to be possible, but we have. We didn't think we'd ever manage to replace Earps, and somehow we have. Russo, I'd still say maybe we're missing kind of an out-and-out striker, but we've got Turlin now, of course, who, whilst maybe finding her feet last season, this season, I think is already looking even better. So one, a good season from her and great. That's Russo replaced. Bear in mind, it's taken Russo 3 seasons at Arsenal to really settle in and get to performing how they kind of wanted her to. So I think you can look at it like that, but you're just looking at it negatively. You can spin any light on it that you want. You can put any kind of clickbaity type article heading, United can't keep any players, and then list the players that we've lost. But at the same time, as long as we're bringing in players, it doesn't really matter. And I think the other thing to remember is, in general, women's football, there's a lot less. I don't know if the right word is loyalty, but people don't tend to play for clubs for years and years and years. For the most part, the contracts are really short. A lot of people have contracts that are like 1+1 or 2+1. A lot of people leave on free transfers. It's only really the last year or two that clubs are firstly pushing for longer contracts, but secondly trying to actually get transfer fees. Because if you look back, I mean, Alex Greenwood's a great example, to be honest, because she has played for like 6 different clubs and just spent like a year or 2 at each. And no one's kind of questioning those other teams for fumbling her or anything like that. It's just part of women's football, which is a little bit different, I'd say, to the men's. Like, obviously, you get the odd player that stays somewhere for a long time, but for the most part, they have a very short career. They don't have the same money that's available in the men's game. So a lot of the time, they will just follow the money, and you can't really blame them for that. I think now we're getting to the point where salaries are improving. We will start to see like loyalties a little bit more, but it's still in that kind of transitional period where we're probably not quite there yet.
I think that's it. I think I go back to my point about the wages. You know, you can't just, I mean, well, you can, but as I said, then everyone starts asking for more and everything else, and you start, as Jess just rightly used the example of the men's side. We did that once with the men's side, and then look what happens, and then look at the mess we're in now, and now people are saying, oh, the wages need to come back down again. So I get it, and I know it's different in terms of the two. In terms of the men's and the women's game, but I don't want us to follow that model. I want the wages to go up, and I want them to keep going up. So I hope when we get to 2028 or whatever, or close to 2028, and Mayor's contracts coming around, or Fallon or Jade, or these kinds of players, when they're coming around for renewal again, I hope that it goes up even more, you know, in terms of that one, and the overall structure starts, you know, to keep getting pushed higher and higher. But it's just that it's going up in a good way in terms of keeping that bracket, if you want to call it that, kind of in place. I think Jess has just been insulted here. Oh no, does it say for or from? Hang on a minute, I've got to bring this up.
What in any of that gave the impression that I'm a City fan? I'm so confused.
Not so sure about that.
I mean, I guess I've not got anything in the background. My flags that I did have are currently in a different room somewhere, but I feel like I need to reevaluate my whole life. I suppose it might be the colour of my top.
Barry's got blue on there.
It's a baby blue, which I guess is like a City colour, but Barry is sat there in what could be construed as like a
Chelsea top. Rangers.
That is horrifying.
I just want to quickly ask, I know there's a couple of comments that Barry wants to bring up as well. I do agree, by the way. Like, I've been sat on this show for the last couple of months talking about how I think the club need to invest more, and I'm still annoyed about the transfer window, even though we're going to talk about the Jess Park deal in a second. I think that's a good thing. I'm still not happy with this transfer window and the way that we've just prolonged this out and dragged things on, and we don't seem, or the willingness is not there to spend the money. I do think it, you know, in terms of the investment and the want to push the boat out. I mean, we spoke at the start of the show about London City Lionesses. Look how much they're pushing the boat out. I wish we'd get the same for United women's side and really go for it. If they want to win the title by 2028, they're going to have to start putting more money in and really start going for it with the money that we're seeing, you know, Arsenal, City and Chelsea do as well. So I do get that point as well. My point was more around the wages and that you just can't just blow it all on one player and hope it to, you know, all to go with it. Barry, there's a couple of comments you picked up on.
Yeah, just a few. Right, a reply to this one. What are you on? If you think that Jess Park should start over Celine Vizet, who at the moment has proven what she can do in a Manchester United shirt, I wouldn't just be dropping her just because Jess Park walked in. She's got to learn that position to start. And that starts by her starting off the bench. So that'd be my response on that one. Emily, I fully appreciate you probably didn't read the article, my love. So I'm going to say this politely as I possibly can, but do better, because this is the most ridiculous story in the history of the world. Any job you work in, if I'll put it in my one, right? So I work for Stevens. They provide a coach. If they provided a coach to go to Wroxham, as it usually would be, a nice hour and a half away, and then I decided I didn't want to get on the coach, I was going to get a taxi back, and then I demanded that somebody else would pay for it, that just wouldn't happen, would it? Because they've given you the option. So there was an option. Some people didn't want to stay overnight or stay a bit longer or whatever it was for them to get in. And so as a result, they just sorted their own stuff out because they wanted to have a little bit extra time off. Nothing wrong with that. Complete non-story.
Can I just add on that one as well? It was one player made their way direct to Manchester. The other 30, as was quoted in the article by the Athletic, would be exactly
Was
the
it
same
Grace
for men.
Dixon because she was rushing to get back to talk to City?
I will just quickly add as well, as people have already put in the chat, Jess Park has completed a medical as well. Tom Garry's just reported on that one. But yeah, no, it was one player, and the rest that went elsewhere on holiday and various other things. Well, I say holiday, but like away for a break or whatever for a couple of days. The men's side have to pay for that as well. There was no story there. It was such a non-story.
Choose fair. I don't mind losing players if she was losing for free. Well, on this occasion, we haven't. So happy days, Man United. Well done. And last thing, what Ziggy Stardust got to do with anything? I didn't know she could sing.
Maybe that's part of the initiation.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see that tomorrow. On that one. So yeah, as I just said there, so it looks like her medical has been complete, which thanks Becky for letting me know, because I could just see that. Let's pop that on the Twitter as well. I don't think we're going to see an announcement tonight. I think it will probably be tomorrow morning, because I don't think this is going to be the last bit of business we see. So I would imagine United want to get this out and announced anyway, providing everything gets signed and everything else. So we'll keep obviously updated on that one. So let's move on to her then, in terms of Jess Park coming the other way. As has been mentioned, can play in midfield, so it's kind of a replacement as well, but also, you know, played a lot of last season and, you know, kind of right midfield as well, has played off the left as well, but particularly on the right there as well. So, Jess, I'll start with you on this one. Just your thoughts on it, because this one did kind of come out of nowhere. You know, Tom kind of reported it this morning, and then it's kind of snowballed since then and moved very, obviously it had to move fast with the deadline tomorrow, but yeah, just your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy, to be honest. If you'd have asked me kind of a few weeks ago how I'd feel about losing Clinton, I probably would have been taking out the fact that I don't think she's ever going to stay, blah, 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 just focusing on her as a player. I think I would have been quite disappointed, a bit upset. But I think in return, we're getting someone who's versatile. We've seen her play really well for City, seen her play well for England. She's well experienced. I'm happy, you know, because she's versatile, it means that we have backup in multiple positions, which I think is one of the most important things. Because we've seen it before, we've had seasons where we've picked up a few injuries and suddenly it's almost like the season's over straight away. So I think getting someone in like that who can play in the middle and play out wide, like Barry kind of said briefly before, I'm not sure that she is going to get straight in the team over like Bizet if she's playing out wide. But the point is, you bring in these players and everyone has to push each other. That's the point of football. There's only 11 players on the pitch, but you need more than 11 in your squad. So if she can come in and even drive the existing players to perform better and be better, then great. I think it's only ever going to be like a good thing. And again, going back to what I said earlier, I think this isn't, I'm not sure how they're doing it. I don't know whether it's a fee or a swap, but the fact that we're essentially getting something for a player, to me, that is a win, especially a player like Jess Park, who has, like I said, proven that she is versatile and good in multiple positions.
Yeah, no. So I went to unmute myself just as I read RC's comment that did make me laugh just before I went to unmute there. But yeah, and I think as well, it just gives it. We all said on the two Champions League shows that we did, when we looked at our bench, we have a couple of injuries right now, and we looked at that bench versus Hammarby particularly, and you're like, oh, like if we go into a WSL season, that's our bench, and we know that Mark doesn't use the kids anyway, so you've already got like 4 subs that are essentially redundant there. From that one, I think, Barry, from your point of view, in terms of just your initial thoughts really, and the fact, I guess it's good. It's a good option to have, isn't it? The fact that, you know, versatility and a good player as well.
This was a slow burner for me, Connor. If I'm honest with you, I saw it earlier on this morning whilst I was going about my business and sorting things out in the morning, and I noticed at that point that there was this rumour coming through, and I'm like, okay, this will be interesting. And then, of course, there was the added bit that Grace was going to go the other way, and I'm like, that kind of makes sense as well. But at no point during those early bits was I sitting there getting super duper excited. But the more the day has gone on, the more I've started to think about it. And when I settled into, you asked me to come on the show, so I sort of sat down, had a cup of tea and collected my thoughts to think about where we were with that. And the more I thought about it, the more I recognised, as we said, the fact that she can fit in at right wing. And that's where Owen is correct. It is that we've been clamouring for somebody who can play on that right-hand side. And she is it. Now, that gives you 3 right-sided players in a position where ideally you'd like to have 4. And you are in a situation where we have seen CBD drop back into the sort of right wing-back position before. So we have seen her do that. And if Jade wasn't about, there is that potential for a little bit of rotation that way. So that does at least offer a little bit of relief. But the problem that we've got with that is that then there's no defensive option if Jade isn't there, and that's where it sometimes becomes a problem, because we can get forward but we get caught out of the back. So that was sort of my caveat to it. Aside from that, I think it's a really good choice. We're taking someone out of the team and out of the squad who isn't a first team player, is getting shifted out to a position where we don't really want her to be, with a player who can play in that position, but can also play in the position that Grace played in. So we have that additional player in that respect as well. So I think the fact that she can perform across there is very important. So very happy, actually. I think it's grown on me more and more, this as a movement. And what's nice about that is that when you do sit down and think about things, as I just have, you then start to see where perhaps the club have actually put in place a little plan and are actually trying to think things through, and not just buying people just because they're great or they're a big signing or any of that. And I think it's really important that we have that. So I think it's exactly that, RC. It's a logical move. It's a sensible move. And if, look, we've seen what Grace is like on the TikToks and the Instagram and all of that. She's still got a lot of growing up to do. And if all she was going to do is whinge for the next year, probably the best thing was to get her out of the way, because that voice would have gone right through me. Listening to her moaning about not playing, it would have, I couldn't have done it. So fair play.
I think as well, like, it's in terms of being logical, I know there's been a lot of back and forth on who's got the better deal out of this and everything else. And obviously City fans would say them, United fans would say us in that sense. And of course I'm going to be biased, but when I first heard this morning, my first thought was, really? United are doing something like clever? Like it kind of works. The more surprising thing for me was that Jess Park agreed to us before anything was agreed, and that anything was done going the other way. That was quite impressive. From that point of view, I'm amazed as well. Of all the City players I look at and think, oh yeah, they could move. They could, particularly to United as well. Jess Park is not
just want to play in Europe, isn't it?
But so, there is that as well, though. That is a big pull, and that's why I think getting into the Champions League is massively important in terms of getting past SK Brown. Obviously, the deadline is tomorrow anyway, but it certainly does elevate us, I think, to another level in terms of players. So I think on that one, it's certainly good, and I think. Yeah, I think it's a good thing all around, personally. I know that, we'll talk a little bit about the rest of the window in just a second, but I think from a purely a Jess Park point of view, I think this is a good bit of business, to be honest. From United, I think it actually suits every party in this. City have wanted Grace, from my understanding, since the start of the year, so they've wanted her for a while. So they've got the player they wanted. I don't think Grace was going to extend, so she's got the move, I guess, that she potentially wanted as well. I don't know about Jess Park in terms of how much she wanted to come to United, but she agreed the terms before the fees were agreed and everything else, so she got the move as well. And United have got a replacement in already as well. So I think it works for every party in that sense. And like Barry said, I think I'm happy with Bezet off the right anyway, but we're going into I said this on the last show, we're going into a September, well, we're in September now, we're going into this September with 6 games. You're going to have to use the squad, because that you cannot play the same 11 for full 90 minutes every single game, especially when we get to that block of 4, where it's SK Brand, London City Lionesses, SK Brand again, and then Arsenal within 10 days of each other. 4 games in 10 days we've got there. You cannot use the same 11 in every single one. So he's going to have to use the squad. And I think Jess Park is more than capable of coming in and helping on that right side or in the middle. As I said, it's got that versatility. If Toon needs a rest, well, fine. You've got Simi Awuja, who's played there in pre-season, and also Jess Park as well. Don't get me wrong, I would like another forward just to really bolster things out a little bit. But we'll wait and see on that one. Right, I'm going to ask you both to, I guess, rate the overall transfer out of 10. I know it's 2 separate deals. It's kind of been mixed reported by a lot of people of whether this is a swap or whether it's separate. I do believe it is separate in that sense. But if you could rate this deal, I guess, as a package, as Grace going to City and Jess Park coming to United, where would you rate this out of 10? That's an open question. I love doing open questions because I want to see who's going to blink first and throw a number out there.
I'm happy to jump in. I'd give it a 9. Straight up, nice, because I think the logic around it is just so sensible. It gets rid of somebody that doesn't necessarily want to be at the club. It brings in somebody that is a more than adequate replacement and can actually play in additional positions. I can't hate it at all. So I think it's a sensible thing to do. Obviously, if she comes in and she's absolutely pony, we'll reconsider that number and maybe turn it around to a 6. But for me, it's a straight up 9. It's sensible. It's not often that we get to call our club sensible. So I'm a little bit shocked.
No, I was going to go for an 8.5. So basically the same. I think Barry summed it up. I think all the strange things that we have done, I think this is fine, absolutely fine. In terms of the players themselves, I think I probably prefer Grace Clinton, but that might just be biased because I've seen more of her, in all fairness. I think that's something else that I should consider when I'm giving my opinion. Obviously, even watching England play, I pay more attention to how United players performing over any other club. But I think just getting rid of a player that doesn't want to be here for a really good incoming player, fine. Absolutely fine. Really impressed. Everyone's been very grown up, really mature. I don't even care that it's a swap deal with City. Like, that could be a point of contention normally, but not fussed. Everyone's been really grown up, mature, great idea. Let's roll with it.
I love that. We'll pass that on. It's a well done all round. And I think James makes a good point as well. When we signed Celine, everyone was just going, oh, she's going to be the backup to Jace on the right. And no one expected her, I don't think, to have the season that she did from that one. And maybe we will see the same from Jess Park. And, and I hope so from everyone's point of view to come in and really hit the ground running, because we're going to need it. As I said, we've got a tough start to the season. We played Arsenal and Chelsea in our opening 5. Like, that's really going to set us up in terms of seeing where our level is this season. When you add Rolfo into that, who I expect should be back for those games anyway. I think when you look at it from that point of view, then you start to look at the squad in maybe a different light as well. So I think, I would probably give it I'm torn between 8 and a 9, so I might go 8.5 as well, just because I'm not entirely sure on that. Because again, I wanted Grace to stay, but I wanted her to want to stay, if that makes sense. In terms of, I would have preferred it if she would have signed an extension and she was still here, and this whole show would have been kind of redundant. But the reality is, she didn't. And as I said, the only thing I'm surprised about is that this took this long. Anyone who knows me and speaking to me privately, I'm talking about City all summer, going, it will probably happen at some point. The only time I doubted it, funny enough, was last night when I was like, okay, this is getting a bit close to the deadline now. And then here comes this story. So that's the only thing I'm surprised about, that this just took so long rather than, anything else. So
that's 3 9s then.
If you're rounding it up, yeah.
Well, that's maths, mate, not me. I didn't make the rules.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Wonder what number she'll take. What number was she at City? Does anyone know? I don't know off the top of my head.
Was she 7?
She's 16. So
16.
Can someone in the chat correct me? What's
16, I think. I wasn't even close to 7.
There's loads of different numbers. Someone's saying in the chat here, what number is it? I trust Becky. Becky's a City fan, so I trust what she said. 16. A lot of people are saying 60. Someone's saying 13 now. Is it 19? I think it's 16. A lot of people are saying 16, so we'll go with that. Have we got? That's really bad. I don't even know who 16 is.
Well, Lisa Nelson's number 16.
So, unless we're seeing a shirt change, she'll have to pick a different number.
I can't see there being a fight between the two of them over such a number.
I'm just having a look at the squad now to see what numbers. Not that this is a massive, contentious talking point, but I'm just trying to see what numbers are available that she could take.
None really around 16. She might do a 61.
I mean, she could take Grace's 8 and just do a like for like almost. 19 as well, maybe, if you're kind of going for a. Yeah, me and Siobhan are on the same wavelength, so maybe 8 or 19. That one, so. Yeah, we'll wait until 61. We'll wait and see. Hang on, what's Paul asking here? I would really want to know how much Grace was valued. I think Grace's market value is higher than Jess's. I actually agree. I think if you're going up pure market value, I don't know what the actual valuation would be, but I would say Grace's is probably higher. Yes. If you're comparing the two, that doesn't necessarily mean she's going to be a better player. And not that I really care what goes on at City, but I am intrigued to see where she fits in at City, if I'm being totally honest, because with the players they've got there, they've just signed Sydney Lohman as well. I'm kind of intrigued to see where she fits into that City team. So, yeah, I'm one to keep an eye on that one. Not that I'm really hoping she does too well. Sorry, Grace, if you're watching this, but don't really care all that much for how well City do. Right, before we wrap the show off, because I'm conscious of there's a lot to cover, and I will go through some of your questions before we wrap this one up. Something else that did get confirmed today was Kira Barry, who's gone on loan to Sunderland, only until the end of the year, though, not the end of the season, so it's only till the end of December, so she'll be back with us in January. Yeah, just both of your initial thoughts on this one. I've been done a little bit dirty by United here as well, because I said in the last show about no more loans, because that was the understanding at the time. And then the next morning they get the messages, which is why I then broke the story about Kira Barry if you wrapped on going on loan, which we kind of expect to be announced as well. But yeah, any thoughts on this one? Kira Barry, Sunderland. It's another WSL 2 loan. We're going to have a lot of players there next season to keep an eye on. But are we both, all three of us, are we happy with that one?
Yeah, I think it's classic loan. It's hopefully just a really good way to get a younger player some playing time. I'm assuming she's clearly not going to get game time if she stays at United. From the way that she's only been put on a loan until the end of the year, you'd think that maybe they're going to kind of review that. So maybe it'll be a case that in the new year they decide that they're going to bring her back to the club. To me, I imagine they're going to then send her out off on another loan. That would make the most sense to me. I guess maybe they're just playing it safe in case of an influx of injuries or anything like that. But I think any move that gets a young person playing time is fantastic. That comment made me laugh. Because ultimately, that's all you want. If she stays at United, she's probably not going to get that. So it should be a really good move. And I can't say this to do anything now. Can't stop giggling to myself.
I was wondering what you were laughing at as well. And then I realised it's because I don't know if that's why.
It's a bit bloody personal, isn't it? It's a show that I've been invited on.
Yeah, Kira Barry. What's your thoughts on
okay, sorry. Easy mistake to make.
What's your thoughts on that one? Sunderland till the end of the year.
Listen, she wasn't likely to get much time at United, was she? So I'll be honest. I feel like anybody that comes up through the academy, we should just sell anyway, because at the moment they just don't seem to have any chance. We had Marad Griffiths come on against Wolves. They put a picture on the app and given her a shirt number. That's about as exciting as it seems to get at the moment. And I don't know, you listen to Mark Skinner talk about trying to find the right moment. But again, he had a right moment. He had a perfect opportunity at 4-0 up in a European trophy to put the players on and give them an opportunity. And he just straight up said no. Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be great fun. I'm going to have a practice at the accent and see how we get on. Should be fabulous. But yeah, so I think for her, it's going to be a good thing. Ultimately, any young player that goes out on loan, it's an awesome thing for them to do because they're going to get the chance to play. They're going to get the chance to do better. And that is, they're always going to become better players playing against teams in the WSL and WSL2 than just staying in the under 21s and doing all of that. So, I think it's very important that we give them that opportunity. But it is, I still think, very frustrating that when there are good opportunities for these youngsters to be given a go, like with the Wolves game, there is no difference for me in that European game against PSV. And just really, really, really disappoints me that we're unable to bring these people through. You look at the NWSL, you've got KK Ream scoring at the age of 16. Absolutely unbelievable. The chance of a Manchester United player scoring a goal at 16 just doesn't seem to be something that will happen. So, yeah, I it's good, but not at the same time.
I think because we had this chat when we were talking about that, just before I put the story out about Ramjon and Barry both going on loan. I remember, we had a bit of a chat about it. We were just like, well, like there is just no, we're seeing Emma Watson go out on loan again. Although I agree with some of these loans, by the way, I think it's good for them to get them because they need minutes. I'd like to see just one just stay and be on the fringe and come on in games in the WSL. We see it at the other three sides in competing for the top three as well. I don't know why we can't. I don't know. It's a question I don't have the answer to because I don't know why. Especially because, Charlie mentioned this on the last show, and it is true. Skinner's track record before, I don't know what it was like in Orlando, particularly around the Midlands and around Birmingham and before that as well. It's got a good record at bringing academy and young players through. So I don't know what's happened since coming at United because we've got some talented players there. Don't get me wrong. Do I think they're all ready to be in the first team all the time? No. I think that some of them are there, though. I think Kira Barry's going into the last year of a contract as well. So that might be why it's only a half-season loan. Maybe get her up to fitness, and then we'll see her into the first team in the second half of the season. That's what I imagine is happening on that one. But you've got players like Ramjon and Emma Watson and Jess Simpson as well. We've loaned her out again. And it's like, at what point is she going to break into the team? Because you can only loan them out for so long. Like, Jess has just signed an extension as well to the contract. So,
and we've got two young goalkeepers.
Exactly.
Just apparently we sat on a bench watching Fallon dive with a goalkeeper coach going, look, that's how you do it, just like that.
Yeah, it's a bit baffling. I'm happy for them. I think it's a good move for both of them. As I said, I'm expecting Ramjon to be announced tomorrow morning, so keep your eyes out for that if that's something you're interested in keeping on. And I think Lucy Neal's loan is bang on. I don't think she's quite ready for the first team yet, if I'm being totally honest. I think she can do a good job and come into the side, but I think this loan, she's probably a year behind maybe one of the two of the others. So I think the loan for her is probably good as well. In a championship that, WSL 2, that is going to be very competitive on that one. Right, let's quickly round the show up with a couple of the questions. They're all the same, though, and I have a feeling they're all directed to me. I can ask the guys if you want me to, but this one certainly is, in terms of do you expect a busy deadline day tomorrow? Joseph's then asking, do we think we're going to get a defender in? And are we confident? And then JJ came in with, are we in line for anyone else a last-minute deadline? Dash. I know you're all sitting here and hoping that we are for that one. I can only, I guess, repeat. Oh, here we go. There's another question. Are you expecting any more for tomorrow? So, I'm trying to think what I can say and what I can't. I can only repeat what I've said for the last couple of weeks, that I believe United have wanted at least 2 in before the deadline. Jess Park will be one of them. We are certainly after a defender. I don't have a name for you, so I can't give you any of that. Am I confident we get one over the line? It's going to be tight. I don't want to stick my neck on the line and say yes, but we are definitely after a defender.
He's been burnt last year. That's the problem. Chloe Kelly's coming. Oh, nuts. No, she's not.
So I'm hopeful, I think is the right word of a defender, because that's the one thing I just keep hearing, that we are pursuing. So I'm hopeful on that. There was people asking if Jess Park is going to be the forward signing. I don't know. I don't want to get people's hopes up. I wouldn't rule out another forward signing, but I'm not as confident on that as I am a defender. So I certainly wouldn't rule one out because I don't think it's the end of that. I think there are certainly other targets we're looking at. Whether it's going to get done by tomorrow, I don't know. I would be more confident.
It's Gemma Evans.
Oh, jeez. I was actually having that chat.
As a centre back.
I was literally having the chat about Gemma.
Or are we bringing back Thor to play at right back?
I wouldn't put it past the club with this, right? So wait and see. But yeah, they definitely want a defender. So I'd keep an eye out for that. And I wouldn't rule out another forward. But I just think it's going to be too tight for the deadline, to be honest. But we've seen how fast deals can happen. Look at Jess Park's deal. It's turned around in a matter of a day. Also, I know that they go on a little bit before that, but in terms of medical done, fee agreed and everything else, it's all done within 24 hours. And I expect that to be announced kind of tomorrow-ish as well. So there we go. German player we're after. I can't imagine the Hoffman deal is going to get done, to be honest. I think we backed away from that one. People are asking me for names. This always happens on these lives. I think I've said all I can say on that one. And I don't really want to ask you again, Barry, in terms of what we need, so I won't ask you again. But Jess, any thoughts from you in terms of what we need now before the deadline?
I mean, another defender would be lovely. I'm not... The current transfer window's been decent-ish, I would say. I think it would be great, but it's just we're so kind of last minute now that I would just rather say that, no, I don't need anyone else, and then be really pleasantly surprised when we get someone. Do you know what I mean? I feel like if I say, oh, yes, we need this exact position, I'm going to curse it. I just think it's one of those, if I pretend I don't want it to happen, it's going to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I keep laughing. It's blame RC. It's nightmare in the chat. Always makes me laugh when you're talking. So it looks like I'm laughing at what you're saying, and I'm not.
I thought you were just taking the mick out of me, to be honest. Being a bit like superstitious almost.
Oh God, it's been such a stressful day. So anything and everything is just making me laugh now at this point because I'm kind of decompressing for a bit.
You're just delirious, I think, at this point, like fully delulu.
I'm so glad I got about 8 hours sleep last night because I'm probably not going to sleep too much tonight working on all kinds of stories that will hopefully go out.
No, I'm kind of hoping for not another Chloe Kelly saga because that didn't really end anywhere, but something like that that's just like exciting, I guess. Really down to the wire. Like the show and everything we did was just so much fun. That even though nothing happened, I want to have fun. I want a fun deadline day is what I want. So I want something really crazy to happen. Yeah. Crazy good, not crazy bad.
I agree. We do need the excitement. I think we might do one anyway. If we can get the people together tomorrow, I think we'll whack one together because I enjoyed the one jam.
If we get a defender, just to pop back to that briefly, I put the transfer window as a 6 on Monday. The Jess Park one is rounded it pretty close to a 7 because I think that was a side that we needed to look at, providing she plays right wing, of course. But yeah, I think if we can get a defender and that's all we put in, it could well be a good 7.5, 8 out of 10, which we wouldn't have expected on Monday.
Yeah, I agree. I think, as I said, that's the one I'm most confident on. But yeah, as I said, I think we'll have to wait. Tomorrow's going to be busy. I think you're going to see a lot of news and a lot of things. And I tweeted this the other day. My thoughts are genuinely with all other reporters and journalists out there because having been a part of it this summer, I can tell you now it is stressful as anything. So yeah, it's going to be a busy day tomorrow. So yeah, if we can get the people together, we'll do it live. I'm sure we'll cover everything as it kind of happens. But yeah, I think we should round it off there because I've got other stories to go off and chase now. So I've got a busy night ahead of me, so I can't really be on here for ages. Anyway.
I'm watching the Three Bears. Great bedtime story, that one.
Of all the things you were going to say then, I did not think it was going to be that. If you're new around here...
a story that you'd know.
To be fair, I do know that one, so you chose well. But if you are new around here, which I imagine there will be, because there's been over 200 of you watching from the majority of this show, so appreciate you all. Make sure you're liking this video and subscribing. As I said, we'll potentially be back tomorrow. And like I said, if you're new, this is what to expect from All for United WFC. We cover all of the content that you want to see and ask the questions that you want to ask as well. I can only answer what I can answer, so I apologize. I know that RC's just had a little thing at me there, won't commit to a name. It's because I can't, unfortunately. It's the way that these things work. As I said, I'm not going to run rumors and all that kind of thing. If I post about something, as some of you already know, it'll be well sourced and well informed as well. So I just like to drop the information and run it. Did anyone else notice that, by the way, earlier? I just dropped the done deal, Jess Park and Grace Clinton thing and ran off Twitter for a bit. That's how we like to do things around here.
If RC wants a name, I'm hearing rumours it might be Leah Williamson.
He'll tweet that as well.
Or Millie Bright.
Can you imagine? That really would explode deadline day. Jeez. But there we go. No, I appreciate you all in the chat, especially all of you regulars as well. You're back every single show. It means a lot to see you back again for another season as well. We keep forgetting we've got a game in a few days' time as well. We will have a Leicester preview at some point in the next few days as well. So appreciate you all on that one. I'll shout it out again because there's only a day or so left. If you're not already in the Fantasy League, download the app. That's the code, or AFUWFC, to join the Fantasy League. There's well over, I think it's over 300 of you now. There's a lot of you in the league as well. So get all your teams in and submitted. All your team is are brilliant, by the way. So that's always appreciated. All of our socials are All for United WFC. We've got so much content coming on match days. On the TikTok now as well, which is not just being ran by me, which is a great help. And as I mentioned on the last show, Instagram and everything else is being upgraded as well because Andrew has kind of taken over the graphical side of things there as well. So have a good evening all. Trying not to stress too much. I know transfer window stresses us all out, and I'm saying that as someone who's been stressed all day. So I'm sure we'll cover everything as it happens. But yeah, stick with us all. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow with another show. But yeah, have a good evening all. See you guys in the next one.